This morning, I'd invite you to turn to Revelation chapter 4 and the 11th verse. Much of today's presentation will come from David Cloud. Again, I encourage you to pick up the book entitled Seeing the Non-Existent, Evolution's Myths and Hoaxes, available back there. Today, I want us to begin by looking at Revelation chapter 4 and verse 11. It says, "Thou art worthy, O Lord, to receive glory and honor and power, for thou hast created all things, and for thy pleasure they are and were created." Our topic today is Darwin Sceptics in our day. I want to begin by pointing out evolution is not science. It is a theory. Now, science is the systematic study of the structure and behavior of the physical and natural world through observation, experimentation, and testing of theories against the evidence obtained. And so evolution is a theory, and science tests theories, including the theory of evolution. Evolution is not science, since science deals with what can be observed and reproduced through experimentation. Scientific claims must be acknowledged only after they've been verified. The origin of life can neither be observed nor reproduced in any laboratory. By definition, then, true naturalistic science can supply no knowledge about where any life form, including the human race, came from or how it got here. In spite of the 150 years of attack of Darwinism, by God's grace, the rejection of Darwinism is still widespread. Now, you wouldn't know that listening to those who have the microphone. You would think everybody believes in evolution. But I believe that is not the case. And this can be explained by the fact there are two parallel programs operating in the world. First, there's the devil's program. And we read in 2 Thessalonians that the mystery of iniquity doth already work. So Satan's got a plan, a program. He's trying to increase rebellion against God and defiance against God and unbelief in the Lord. At the same time, God has a program. And we want to be involved and are involved in God's program, which is to witness of the Lord Jesus Christ, to testify of the transformation that he has brought to us, and to tell the gospel, which is the good news of the death, resurrection of Jesus Christ for the salvation of mankind from sin, from the devil's program. So these two programs are going simultaneously. Now, what's interesting is in Britain, less than half believed in evolution back in 2006 when this poll was taken. 40% believed intelligent design should be taught in schools. Understand, please, with me, that intelligent design doesn't mean that they necessarily believe in creation as the book of Genesis teaches it, but they do see there is some kind of designer, and you can't just explain it by Darwinism. So it's basically a skepticism of Darwinism when you take an intelligent design. I'll show that a little bit later. Also in America, there's an estimated over 100,000 Darwin skeptic scientists and academics in the U.S. alone, teaching in all of their colleges and universities. And that's according to this report, How Religious Are America's College and University Professors, written back in February 2007. A Gallup poll in 2012 in America showed 46% held to a young earth creation. Young earth would be the position that you would take if you just read the Bible and took it at face value, that the earth is approximately 6,000 years old. You can actually count that. I've done so. You can do that. I'll show you how to do that if you're interested. But you simply just count that, going through from the beginning and working out that it's a basically 6,000-year-old creation. That's called young earth as opposed to old earth, millions and millions of years. Theistic evolution is kind of a mixture where there's a belief in creation, but we believe that evolution had a part in that. That's what they say, theistic evolutionists, and they found 32% were there, and only 15% held to Darwinian naturalistic evolution. You wouldn't have gotten that by watching the news. You wouldn't have thought that at all from the documentaries. They're all slanted toward Darwinian evolution, but that's just not a fair caricature at all. And then in Israel in 2006, 59% believed in creation, as stated in the first 5 books of the Bible. 28% held to evolution. In fact, Jewish organizations that hold to creation include the Association of Orthodox Jewish Scientists. Jewish PhDs who hold to creation include these names in very high up positions. It's interesting, Dr. Jerry Bergman compiled a public list of 3,000 Darwin Sceptics. You can find this on the net yourself. About a dozen of them Nobel Prize winners. And Bergman himself is very interesting. He's got a PhD in biology as well as a PhD in measurement and evaluation. And he maintained a 4.0 average in both doctorates. And if you know a little bit about that, the very highest and best you can get is a 4.0. Most people, the brightest usually, are still in the 3.9s. For him to get a 4.0 means he got a perfect score in that. God gave him a good brain. Well, he has a private list beyond this 3,000 public list of about 1,000 individuals who said, I don't want to be on your public list. I may lose my job or have harm in the way of retaliation. There's also a Scientific Dissent from Darwinism webpage published by the Discovery Institute. And as of a few months ago, it had been signed by more than 1,100 PhD scientists. This video was taken from a couple years ago when there were only 1,000.
I'm skeptical of the claim.
I'm skeptical.
We are skeptical
of claims for the ability of
random mutations
And natural selection.
to account for the complexity of life.
A careful examination
Of the evidence.
For Darwinian theory
should be encouraged.
I'm skeptical
Skeptical.
skeptical
of claims
For the ability of random mutations
and natural selection
to account for
the complexity
the complexity
the complexity
to account for the complexity of life.
Careful examination
examination
Of the evidence.
For Darwinian theory
should be encouraged.
And that statement is there on the screen, which they have just said. But if they can agree to that, they then sign, and basically it shows that this is something that men and women who know science are standing against Darwinian evolution, not just not just Christian people or not just laymen as it might be thought of. There's also other societies and groups. This particular one has a membership of more than 600 men and women who hold advanced degrees and committed to biblical creationism. So they go beyond the statement I just said, and they actually hold to biblical creationism. The Korea Association of Creation Research membership includes 450 scientists, and a third of them have PhDs. David Cloud's got a book with scientists who believe the Bible. It contains the testimonies of 84 PhD scientists who hold to a six-day creation. Here's one that I thought you would be interested in.
To argue that life came about entirely by chance, when you know the level of detail of biochemistry and physiology that us physicians know, that's just an absurdity. I mean, there's no prospect when you look at the details of that all of the details of physiology that gives us life today came about by accident. It just doesn't compute. And if you look at it in detail, you see there's no evidence for that. There's no way to look at the sophisticated physiology and anatomy of a living human being and to argue that it came about by statistical chance. And when you look at the evidence that it proceeded from statistical chance, which I've done in detail, it just doesn't compute.
There are many that I could give you as examples. Dr. Douglas Axe, professor of molecular biology at Biola University, he said, because no scientist can show how Darwin's mechanism can produce the complexity of life, every scientist should be skeptical. The fact that most won't admit to this exposes the unhealthy effect of peer pressure on scientific discourse. As I said, a list of 1,000 scientists who say, I agree that we need to be skeptical of Darwinism, but if I said so publicly, I could be in big trouble. And so that just backs up what Dr. Axe is saying. This is another gentleman, Dr. Marcos Eberlin, member of the Brazilian Academy of Sciences, founder of the Thomson Mass Spectrometry Laboratory. He said, as a biochemist, I become most skeptical about Darwinism when I became most skeptical about Darwinism when I was confronted with the extreme intricacy of the genetic code and its many most intelligent strategies to code, decode, and protect its information, such as the U times T and ribose, and I can't even pronounce these words, exchanges for the DNA-RNA pair, and the translation of its 4-base language to the 20AA language of life that absolutely relies on a diversity of exquisite molecular machines made by the products of such translation, forming a chicken and egg dilemma that evolution has no chance at all to answer. Now, if you didn't get anything else, get that last bit. Evolution has no chance to answer, he says. And we're going to try and make this a little more clear next week, and it's going to be brought down to terms we can understand. But here's another one. Dr. Michael Egnor, pediatric neurosurgeon, also teaches it. He said, we know intuitively that Darwinism can accomplish some things, but not others. The question is, what is that boundary? Does the information content in living things exceed that boundary? Darwinists have never faced those questions. They've never asked scientifically, can random mutation and natural selection generate the information content in living things? Dr. Roland Hirsch, some years back, won an award in analytical chemistry, and he said, life as revealed by new technologies is more complicated than the Darwinian viewpoint anticipated. Thus, evolutionary theory, which was considered to be a key foundation of biology in 1959, today has a more peripheral role. Modern science makes it possible to be a scientifically informed doubter of Darwinian theories of evolution. And then later on, in accepting that award, he said that based on molecular biological data, the Darwinian theory itself is fundamentally, perhaps fatally flawed. Just a couple more examples here. Dr. Philip Skell, member of the U.S. National Academy of Sciences, professor at Pennsylvania State University, father of carbene chemistry, and he's now passed on, but he said scientific journals now document many scientific problems and criticisms of evolutionary theory, and students need to know about these as well. Many of the scientific criticisms of which I speak are well known by scientists in various disciplines, including the disciplines of chemistry and biochemistry, in which I've done my work. He said the modern form of Darwin's theory has been raised to its present high status because it's said to be the cornerstone of modern experimental biology. But is that correct? He said Darwinian evolution, whatever its other virtues, does not provide a fruitful heuristic, which means to discover or learn something for yourself, in experimental biology. This becomes especially clear when we compare it with heuristic frameworks such as the atomic model, which opens up structural chemistry and leads to advances in the synthesis of a multitude of new molecules of practical benefit. None of this demonstrates that Darwinism is false. It does, however, mean that the claim that it is the cornerstone of modern experimental biology will be met with quiet skepticism from a growing number of scientists in fields where theories actually do serve as cornerstones for tangible breakthroughs. Here's another. Dr. Yvonne Bolt has done a lot of work in microbiology. When she said, when Darwinian proponents claim there is no controversy regarding the cohesiveness of the scientific evidence for evolution as creator, they're merely expressing a heartfelt desire. There's a growing contingent of scientists who have found the evidence for Darwinian evolution wanting, and who are ready and willing to debate Darwinists on scientific grounds. And these can be found on YouTube if you'd like to go there and find some. Just be aware, not all of them take a biblical position. So even some that we're going to put up here. For example, this gentleman here is a born-again believer, saved at the age of 18. He said, for the last 45 years, I have read my Bible pensively every day, from Genesis 1 through to Revelation chapter 22. I've read every day. I've been doing that. And he gives a good testimony there. But he is an organic chemist, a nanotechnologist, professor of chemistry, also at the same Rice University where he's taught for 35 years. He's the professor of materials science and nanoengineering and professor of computer science. And I wanted to share just a little bit of what he had to share, just a little bit longer quote.
He said that they are dismissive. This is the excuse to dismiss people. It's very hard, though, for them to dismiss me. They'll try to dismiss Stephen Meyer, even though the guy is frighteningly smart and he knows a lot. They'll dismiss him because he's not a real researcher. They'll dismiss Michael Behe because he just doesn't publish that much. He's not a well-published person in the area of the sciences, as far as some of the people that would like to dismiss him. Although he does publish, it's not to the extent that they would like. It's very hard for them to summarily dismiss me, because we have analytics, we have ways of measuring impact of people in the sciences, and it's to put it simply, it's something called an H index, which it's not just number of publications, not just how many times people have cited you. It's what is the impact of your work across a large body. And generally, there's generally everybody who would like to dismiss me, their H index is much, much lower than mine. So it's hard for them to dismiss me. We've published a lot of papers. I've published a lot of papers in my career, 2, 3, 4 times more papers than anybody who would like to dismiss me. So it's hard for them to dismiss me, which makes it a much harder thing for them to ignore me when I'm saying, hey guys, I don't understand this. How about explaining this to me? Let's take it one step at a time. How would you do this? And so now, getting back to your other question, the evolution was from simple to more complex, or simple changing in some ways deleterious, some ways better, getting eventually to more complex. So going from a single cell organism to a human being, that is the two ends of evolution in a sense. But more fundamentally then is, before evolution can even start, you have to have that first cell, which is an entity, which is what's called a lipid bilayer. It's like a sac. And inside of that, although the sac is extremely complex, it's not just like a burlap bag or something, it's extremely complex. And then you have all the inner workings of that. Nobody has ever made a cell in the laboratory. Nobody has even taken all the components of a cell. So if you just take a living cell, you deconstruct it into its fundamental pieces and try to put that thing back together again. Nobody's ever done that. Nobody's ever even come close. And nobody even has an idea on how to do it. And every year, that target of making a cell becomes more complex, not because the cell has changed, but because we realize more and more the complexity that's in a cell. It used to be thought that that's just a blob of protoplasm, but it's not that at all. It's a whole hierarchical system of operation of molecules working together. So nobody knows how to even take the basic constituents and put that together. Well, how about making the basic constituents in a way that an early Earth would have had to make it? This gets back to the origin of life. How do you make those basic constituents? Nobody knows. And so the building blocks of the building blocks, people have some certain ideas, and it's rough. The chemistry is very, very hard. And they'll use modern techniques, and they'll try to insert themselves. They'll use what's called relay synthesis to try to ease the problem. All these things that an early Earth never would have been able to deal with. And then once they get these basic raw building blocks of say, a sugar, an amino acid, and a nucleotide, now you've got to hook those things together. You have to make strings of them. Nobody knows how to do that. That's in fact the basis behind my challenge. Nobody knows how to make those strings. And because you have to make those to get your basic building blocks of a cell. Nobody can even make those yet. And then there's a much bigger inherent problem, which is you need the informational code. It's like if you had a computer but you had no software. Where is the software that's going to run these things? Nobody understands where the code is that encodes this thing. So these are all the problems with origin of life. And I'm just here pointing out the obvious. Truly, I'm pointing out the obvious. It's not like, wow, Jim Tour sees something that nobody else sees. No, I see what everybody else sees. Every other synthetic chemist, every other organic chemist sees every problem that I see. It's just that before I started studying in this area, I took it for granted what these guys said. You know, they would say all sorts of things, and you take things for granted because you think they understand. But then when you look in it, you see that this is a house of cards. And when I point it out, even my colleagues who are not in this area, they'll see what I have to say. They go, yeah. Are you the only one saying this? Are you the only one speaking up? And you say, well, why don't bunches of people speak up with me? Because they don't want to happen to them what's happened to me. Because you undergo a lot of attack as a result of this. But as I've said before, I've already thrown my hat into this ring, and I can't back out now.
Okay, I hope that gives you a little taste. The whole interview is worth looking at, really.